Dear white people, dear black people, dear women, dear men, dear disenfranchised, and dear franchised. Aren't we all tired of being manipulated for this attention-driven economy? Manipulated by fear, manipulated by anger, and worst of all, manipulated for profit. Algorithms are incentivized to take advantage of who we are. And it actually wasn't long ago that people were upset about Final Fantasy XVI, where it didn't feature minorities, and here we are today, where people are upset that they do. Or are they? Let's jump into it. Let's really talk about what's happening, and I'm going to let Joseph Gordon-Levitt actually break it down for us here in this clip.
If we're going to talk about the perils of creativity becoming a means to get attention, then we have to talk about the attention-driven business model of today's big social media companies. Right? Okay. So this will be familiar territory for some of you, but it's a really relevant question here.
Now, when I originally watched this TED Talk, it actually fundamentally changed my understanding of what social media is and what it isn't. In a way, it shattered the glass. It let me see beyond the veil of what is actually happening to us as a people, to us as impassioned fans of games. And that's why I wanted to reference it here in this video. I'll include a full link in the description so you guys can go check out the whole video for yourself. It's absolutely worth your time. And while he focuses it on and how it steals our creativity, how it's attacking our ability to think creatively, I think it also attacks many other things about us. It attacks our empathy, our ability to practice that as a muscle and relate to each other, because ultimately you start to question the motives behind everybody, behind every message, behind every comment, behind every tweet, behind every YouTube video, this one included. But now I want to acknowledge something. Racism exists. Surprise, whoa. It's stupid, but at the same time, it's been overused, abused, and the fear of actually being called a bigot is not used to grow anybody, to better the conversation. It's used to control people rather than to understand people. And over on Twitter, obviously so, David Jaffe, the original God of War director, he tweets this out. I'm inches away of pulling the trigger on Forspoken at $70. Part of it's for the good stuff that I'm hearing from people who are playing it and the fact that I did enjoy the demo. The other part is I really want to buy it, despite the holes who clearly don't like women, black people, or PlayStation. Now, this gets picked up, becomes articles, and we're going to talk about why here in a second. But then David Jaffe goes on another tear here. Hey, Bounding Comics, if you actually gave a about journalism and ethics, you would be ashamed of yourself. I never said that. Did I say that I implied that some of the criticism in the game is built on racism, misogyny, and console wars? Yep, to say it was driven by them and the main group of the majority of people who are painting the game, though. Please provide site and evidence, or at least please hire an editor who could at least work on a high school newspaper website so they can introduce you to the basics of your job. Thanks. Oh, and this is amazing. I refuse to believe that the wide range of dislikes for Forspoken is based on anything but bigotry. Goodness, you'd think it's a lie and you just don't care. Well, whatever, hoping at least a few of your readers recognize your tactics and walk away from your product later. And so obviously, clearly frustrated, but based on an actual quote. So what's to be believed? Personally speaking, I think it's a tweet. Why the hell do we take any of those things seriously? One of the craziest things in my mind is how much we value and put on Twitter. I can't change that in this video, and so that's what the rest of the video actually I want to focus in on. The truth of the matter is more what's trending than anything else. And what I mean by that, and I'm not judging those who especially make content creation their be-all, end-all, their careers, their jobs. But when the incentive structure is that if you're not talking about what's trending, honestly, it doesn't really matter where you fall. And we're seeing this across the board, outside of social media and all forms of reporting. And this is what concerns me as a parent, is the first things first is that it doesn't matter that you err, as long as you err to what your readers want or your listeners want or your viewers want. So as long as I hit the vast majority of what you guys feel, it doesn't matter if I'm wrong about something. It just matters that we all agree on this thing that is incorrect. And I think that is absolutely concerning. Now, the simple solution here, especially when it comes to games, is really just to skip a game that you might not be interested in. And This is now overshadowed by actually wanting to take a crap on a game because it will give you attention. Good attention, bad attention. Attention will always win. And that's because we are a people of these kind of extremes. Now, I believe here the solution is education. Know what forces are actually being at play here, what's working on your mind and your emotions, and the incentive that anyone has to talk about them. This is something I learned in college. A nun actually said, ask questions about who paid for the study, who funded the study, who was interested in it, who was driving them and who was feeding them. Like, just keep asking questions and drill in further and further and further to kind of really get a better and true picture about what is going on. Getting paid, though, isn't bad, right? In the concept of these businesses, they have to keep the lights on, but that incentive actually keeps their articles and agendas present to appease these echo chambers of thought. It really, truly makes me sad. Now, it's not like anybody else is any better. Like, if you look back in the past, the media also was controlled. There was a narrative. It just ended up being filtered out, so you weren't being inundated it all the time. And that's why we kind of get this, rose-tinted glasses look at the past. It wasn't necessarily any better than it is today. It was just different. And so I'm not sitting here saying that the solution ends up being like we should just turn off social media, because that Pandora's box has already been opened, and now we need to figure out how to deal with it. And so in this regards, like how I think about this and how we function on this is that the reality here is all of this manufactured stuff, like I talked about in my previous videos, and I'll link to them as well. All of this is really based off of real world pain. It's manufactured drama based off of historic issues and things that we should be open to discussing and not always on the defense in that regards, right? Like, especially in terms of racism, but it's sexism, it's all kinds of isms that continually be thrown your way. And then the problem ends up being is that we're not actually discussing them because we're either too afraid to be called a bigot or a racist because we're ignorant or we might not understand a perspective. So those two in and of themselves restrict us down as who we are. So we are not actually, I think, really growing. We're growing apart. And hopefully, ultimately, the best way to handle it is to educate yourself, know that these things are happening, and maybe take things off of Twitter. Don't feel like you're going to change anybody's mind with a well thought out post, because people interpret words, and especially with whatever their mood is, it comes completely different. In the comedy club specifically, there are things that you can say and do and joke that actually work over better because of the nature of the agreement everybody has in a comedy club. It just works out much better because I can do all kinds of crazy antics on stage that doesn't represent who I am as a person, but ultimately it is much better received. And we'll probably be posting some of my stand-up comedy here on the channel here in the near future. But I want to shift to two final thoughts here for the end of this video for those of you who are still with me. I'm going to be releasing my Forspoken impressions as soon as I can. I've been playing on PC, and I just want to say in this video, honestly, I'm really enjoying the game. It's awesome playing it on ultra wide. I have a 3080. I'm able to get 60 frames per second plus on a 3080 in ultra wide. I'm not playing at 1440p. I have lowered the resolution, but overall performance seems great. Seen a little bit of stuttering here and there. Not game breaking. Like, honestly, I'm actually really enjoying the characters. I'm really enjoying the world and the discovery. Still have a lot to go. This isn't no review here. I just wanted to bring that up because I am looking forward to sharing something positive, but I really felt called to talk about this because this kind of does build up off of what I've been talking about. So for you guys that took time to actually listen to this video, thank you so much. Hopefully you got something good out of it. Hopefully this can really kind of conclude my Real Talk series that really stretched back to the 16 outrage, where I was talking about 16 in the context also of Forspoken, where people were trying to, drive their articles. And this is everybody's guilty here in my mind. If you want to watch the videos that I was talking about, again, they should be on screen for you now. You can click them and check them out for yourself. I really hope that you do. I wish you guys all the joy and peace in the world, and hopefully we'll see you guys in future videos. But until then, take care.